Grampa Joe with Grandpa Des. Hey, John, how you doing?
Oh, I'm Grandpa Des. I'm doing great. How are
No,
you?
you can call me Paul. That's cool, man. Long time no see.
It's been a long time. It's been a long
Yeah,
time.
when were you last in
Uh,
Winnipeg? Like 4 years ago?
no, probably 2.5 years ago.
Okay. Did we see
So
each
yeah,
other then? I
so
don't even remember.
I don't think so,
Okay.
and I don't know why. It was
Yeah.
business time. I was only in town for a few days or a week or
Yeah.
something like that.
I think were
Um,
you here to see your dad? Maybe.
Actually, I was here. Yeah, I was there to see my
Yeah.
dad quite a bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just to get around and see a lot of people. And
Yeah.
luckily, though, I did spend a lot of time with him. So it was
Yeah.
a visit worth having, right?
Yeah. That's cool, and it good timing too, because I
Yeah.
mean, if you had waited any longer, you might not have been able to come.
Well, yeah. If I had waited, because we're talking 2019, if
Yeah.
I had waited probably like a few months after that, like going into 2020,
Yeah.
things were changing and I would not have made it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the timing was good, and spent a lot of time with him, and I'm super grateful for that. So, yeah.
So for people that
Um,
don't, I was going to say, for people that don't know, I should have said this off the top. John and I go way back. And we'll get into some of the stories, but I mean, I've been friends with John since early 20s, maybe.
the 1920s? No, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No,
you know
I
what?
mean, really, the early 90s for sure.
Definitely, probably 1992, 1993.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, going back. Not
So,
quite the other 1920s, but yeah,
no. I mean, it feels like it some days. So
well, it
what
does.
did I interrupted you there? What were you saying?
I can't
Don't you remember?
remember.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what are you doing these days? You're not selling cars anymore, right?
I'm not. I'm currently working in a medical clinic here in
Oh,
Victoria.
okay.
I've been here for about a year, well, 9 months now.
Yeah.
Really good job. I'm really liking it.
Cool.
It's been a bit of an unusual week. I'm currently in self isolation.
Oh, wow.
Um, no, yeah, I don't know if I told you. This is a big deal for me.
Okay.
Monday I had so yeah, self isolating, quarantine. Um, so Monday I had symptoms of the sickness, right?
Okay.
I had a sore throat, and I had the blahs. So
Yeah.
I called in sick at work. No issue, get well. See you tomorrow. So I go to work on Tuesday, and I was at work for a few hours, and my boss calls me, and they're like, we need to talk to you. They're like, we're on the government website. We really don't know what we're reading here, but we think you have to go home for 5 days and you have to quarantine.
Do you
I was
get
like,
paid at
what?
least?
You know what? I do get paid.
Okay,
Thankfully, in
cool.
British Columbia, you're now
Cool.
allowed 5 sick days a year.
Cool.
So
Okay.
I
So
they're
there's a
like
bright side, but go on with the story.
they're
So
like
I just wanted
they're
to make
like
sure.
go home, and they're like, well, how are you feeling today? I'm like, well, I'm better. I'm like, it's a little
Yeah.
hot in here, but whatever. Like, well, I think you got to go home. So long story short is I've been home for a few days now, and I guess I
Yeah.
can go back on today.
Hey,
It's really weird. It's
it
really
is.
weird. It's like,
It is.
I know on YouTube you can't say the C word right now because you might get flagged. So but we know
Well,
what we're talking about.
well, yeah, and
And
honestly, we don't like, I try to avoid it as much as possible, but it's kind of hard
yeah,
not to.
yeah,
If you're going to have an honest conversation, you can't not talk about it. I mean, because
right.
it's on
And we're
everybody's
not
mind.
talking the C word
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
C word Tuesday. This is like the bad C word
yeah.
right now.
Well, Emily is actually home right now too, self-isolating because she was, close contact with someone at daycare that apparently tested
Yeah,
positive. Now
yeah,
I think she might have actually been the one that had it first, because so what happened was, I guess it would be almost 2 weeks ago now. I woke up one day and I had a really bad headache and I was a little bit nauseous. And it was
yeah,
like, okay, and I'm like, should I get tested? Nah, you know what? No, because if I get tested, then if I'm positive, then you have to, so I took the day off work and I went to bed. And
right.
and when I woke up, I felt a little bit better. So I didn't
Yeah,
bother getting tested. And then,
yeah,
and a couple days before that, Emily had a fever. And then, like the next morning, she didn't. So we sent her to
right.
daycare. And
Yeah,
then the day after me, Anne got similar feeling. And then, it went away, went about a half a day.
Yeah.
But then about 3 days after that, Paul Jr. had been here. He gets symptoms. So he goes and gets tested. He's got it. So now
Really?
he's at home. Yeah. So he's at home. He's self-isolating. He's feeling better today, but he actually was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And then but then Emily, so we get a notification on January 10th, someone at daycare, but I mean, they might have got it from her, like who knows, but she's at home now. But sounds like they're changing their policies in Manitoba now, and she might even be able to go back to school Monday. So,
And the thing with the policy, sorry to interrupt you though, like the thing with the policy, like everything changes so quickly, like they're continuously changing that goalpost, right? So it's like, and when I was at work on Tuesday, I was like, they don't even understand what they're reading.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. And I'm an actor in the play like everyone else. So they're like, you know what? But you get paid. I'm like, well, you know what? And I'm like, I have emails. I'm like, I said, I have an email to send. Like, no, just go.
Okay. Well, and I'm lucky because I can work from home. So, or unlucky, depending on how you want to look at it. Because I mean, you're getting 5 free days off. And
well,
I'm sure
and then funny enough, my girlfriend works from home. So, and she had some symptoms as well. But the poor lady, like 2 weeks ago and last week we had bad weather in Victoria, which you never get. So we had blizzards for or 10 centimeters of snow, we'll call it. So that'll shut the city down. So I had 3 days 2 weeks ago where I didn't go to work because of the weather. So I was off Monday. I wasn't well. She understands that. So Tuesday, can you imagine? Like, hey, guess who's back for like the rest of the week?
Oh,
and she's like, oh my God, like just I'm like, I'll try to stay busy. I don't know what I'll do. I could read. I don't know what,
Do you guys have is it a house or an apartment?
It's a condo. It's an apartment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a
and
ton of
not a
space.
very big one. Not.
So you're kind of in the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, it was with us. Like, I mean, we got a big house. Have you been to our new place? I can't even remember.
I think I saw the outside of your home.
Okay.
I think I dropped you off once.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a big place, and we've got 3 levels, and so I mean, when I'm working, like I have an office in the basement, and I can't even hear what's going on upstairs. So I'm lucky that way. And when Anne's got a day off of work, as long as there's no kids here, and I mean, there always seems to be kids. They show up. They just randomly show up, and So there we get that out of the way. Yeah, I was curious about that because I knew you were thinking about getting out of the car sales, but I wasn't sure, what exactly you were doing. So
I've been out of car sales for about 2 years now. I did try it when I moved to BC, and a few things have changed. It's hard to start fresh, and it's hard to start get a new clientele. And it's a very competitive business, and in a lot of ways, I just kind of like I maxed out. You know what I mean? I think I'd done it for about 12 years, and I think I was like I was good. So I've just been doing other sales related jobs. With what I do in this medical clinic, it's actually laser vision care. I'm a counselor, but really what that is, it's like salesmanship. It's getting patients, to book appointments, and helping them through that process of assuring them that they're in good hands and everything like that. So it's a good job. There's not a lot of competition, and I enjoy working with people. So it's so far it's a really good mix for me.
So what part of Victoria are you in?
We are in Vic West, which is just right outside of downtown. Like, so if I look out the window right now, I could see downtown from here.
Okay, so because I'm just trying to place where you would have been, because I used to live in Victoria, as I'm sure you know.
Right.
And we were okay. So we lived on Short Street. I'm trying to remember what the major thoroughfare was. I think it was Saanich. No, you know what? Saanich was where my aunt Kathy lived. We might have been off a Quadra.
Okay. Yeah.
Which there was a little strip mall. And I think the McDonald's is still there. But everything else is different. But it's weird because I'll tell you this, and Anne and I were just talking about this. We went back to Victoria in the early 90s. And okay, so I lived there from 1980 to 1982. So we went back there, and I think it was like 94. And so it had been 12 years. And when I was there, it felt like it had been 30 years since I'd been there,
Right.
because it was like
Yeah.
you're a little kid and now you're a grown adult with kids.
Yeah.
Now, if I went back, it feels like 10 years ago that I was actually there, but it's actually been like 30 years. So it's
Right.
weird the
Right.
way your brain works, because I bet you it looks completely different. Like I looked
I
on
bet
Google.
it
Yeah.
would as well, for sure.
Yeah. Because Short
Yeah.
Street, the street I grew up on, or that I lived on, is
Sorry,
I'm
how long were you there for? How long were you living there
3 years, like two and a
for?
half years in Victoria. And then we lived in Souk for a year.
Okay.
So we were
Yeah.
on the island for three and a half years. So Short Street was, when I went back, it was still there. It still looked exactly the same, like I just had all the visions came back. But I recently looked it up on Google Maps, and it's completely different. It's like a parking lot. There's like a set of condos there, and then the houses that were across the street from me are gone. There's like a big wall there now, but the mall's still there. Like the mall that we used to walk to, that I was there.
Mall is it? What mall is it?
I'm trying to find it on the map here. Like I said, there was a McDonald's there. Here, you know what? I should do this. Hang on.
I know you'd asked me to go by there one time and take a picture of that.
Well, and again, it was probably, by that point it had probably changed. Because again, in my mind, I'm thinking I had been there. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's Short Street. Yeah, the McDonald's is still there. So it was Saanich Road. I was right. Okay. So there's a Walmart there at the mall. There's PetSmart. I think it's called the Uptown Shopping Mall. It looks like it's called.
Okay. Yeah. I'm there all the time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. So we were literally like, there's Saanich Road, and then across Saanich Road was the back of Short Street. And so we were off of Oak Street. And if you look at Short Street, like it's still the way I remember it, because we were on the one side that came off of Oak Street, and then the other side that went onto Saanich was like around the corner, and there's like a hill, and my buddy Danny lived on the hill, and then we would go through his yard and walk. So we would go across Blanchard, which my mom never wanted me to do because it was a busy street, but we would go across. Yeah, and we would go across there to walk to school, because our school was Cloverdale School, which I'm trying to see how far away it is here. In fact, let me do the directions. This is super interesting for the people listening. But you know what? If they didn't want to hear this stuff,
you're gonna have a captive audience today, I tell you.
Absolutely, yeah. So actually, I'm just Googling like how you get from Short Street to. Yeah, it's actually exactly how I just described it, believe it or not. It was Tattersall Drive that we would go across, but we would have to cross Blanchard across there, and then it looks like it's a 5-minute drive and a 21-minute walk. The ski kids today aren't walking 21 minutes, but we did.
The kids are not walking enough. No.
Every day we walked that 21 minutes.
And
I would pick up my friends on the way. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the thing about Victoria is it's not really big here. Like I find, comparison to Winnipeg, you're probably talking about a third of the size. Like when I moved here, I thought, another big city, and everything like that. And once you get out and start seeing things, it's like it's really not big here at all. So it's one thing I find really interesting. So, but which I like about it. It's more of a cozy atmosphere here. Like.
I could walk downtown from where I was. And I did all the time. Like in the summer, like we would go to the Wax Museum. It was like a 45-minute walk.
Yeah. And the weather, the climate here is great for that. So, it might rain a lot, but, you wear a rain jacket or you wear a hood and you're fine.
I would say like 95% of the time you are between 0, and we're talking Celsius, and 20. Yeah. Like it never gets above 20 and it never gets below 0. Like the odd time it might. So I think for Anne, she would not like the fact that it never gets. She likes the heat. Like she likes it when it gets like 30. It's never 30 in Victoria. Never.
Yeah. No. Although we did have some of that in the summertime. We had like I think about 4 days of like 35 degrees, which was awful because no one here has AC.
Right.
But the beautiful thing is it was gone in like 4 days. Like not like a Winnipeg 3 weeks of like plus 30 overnight kind of thing.
Or like minus 40 like we had last week.
Yeah.
I'm sure I know that.
So, you know what? I don't miss any of that. Yeah, to be honest with you.
We're thinking about going out there maybe sometime this week. or not this week, this year,
I was,
when
wow.
things get a little better. Yeah, definitely not this week, definitely not this week. So yeah, so okay, so I wanted to tell this story and see if you remember it the same way I do, because it would have
Oh,
been like, okay, so we would have met each other. I don't even know when, but obviously I was friends with your brother, kind of,
yeah,
tertiary, like
yeah.
friends of a
And
friend kind of thing.
like all
And
that. Yeah, yeah,
and then we kind of were probably introduced to each other. And then
yeah.
one day out of the blue, you just called me up and you're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, nothing, just whatever." And he's like, "You want to go for pizza?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I guess." And then so I was like, "Yeah." And then we like went and we met, because I think you lived pretty close to like a Pizza Hut. And it was like a 10-minute drive from where I was. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
I thought it was strange, like this, and I mean, I knew you and, but it's like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
is he calling me? And I'm like,
I,
do you have like an
I don't
ulterior motive? And you're like, no.
well, like a cheer or something.
Well, I just know, like, you just want to go for pizza and you didn't want to go by yourself. So, you found
Well,
my number
yeah.
somewhere and gave me a call. And, and it's like,
Well,
so am I remembering this
yeah.
right? Or do you even remember?
I don't remember that at all. But
Okay. Does it sound like
I
something you'd have done?
well,
Okay.
I'm a friend. I like, why not?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. See, I wouldn't do
I don't
that.
know. You
And
got to
I'm
get
not,
out more.
it's not a
You got,
criticism. It's like, it's a compliment,
well,
because
thank you.
yeah, because I mean, you were, and I assume still are, very outgoing, very, like
I
you have
try.
no problem making friends. And I
Hmm.
do. So, I mean, for you, I mean, you were the one that was basically started our friendship, because
Okay.
I mean, yeah, because if it was me, like, I made friends, and then you introduced me to, well, I wouldn't say you introduced me, but like us hanging out together,
Yeah.
I met a bunch of people that I'm still friends with to this day,
Yeah.
that I never would have met if it wasn't for hanging out with you.
I'm lucky. I don't know. If it, my personality or whatever. I just seem to meet a lot of people, and and all sorts of people. Like, I never in high school never hung out with only the sports guys. I hung out with everyone, the losers, the headbangers, the jocks, like everybody. And it seems to still carry on. So
And
yeah,
you're
I don't know.
confident, like you're confident too, right?
I guess. But I think with you, I mean, obviously, I probably met you a couple times at least,
Yeah,
and I probably thought, this guy's okay to eat pizza together. Like, I think
yeah.
I think it's like a test in my mind, and you passed it. I'm like,
Okay, cool.
this guy could sit in a Pizza Hut and enjoy what I want to enjoy.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but no,
Well,
I
and
don't remember. I don't remember calling you, but yeah,
well, I put it this way, like I'm sure you did, because I know for a fact I wouldn't have. And it's got nothing to do with you. It's got
yeah,
everything to
yeah.
do with me. But yeah, like because I had a friend similar to that in high school that was the same way. Like, and he was somebody that would be like exactly what you're describing. He would just hang out with the headbangers. He would hang out with the popular, like if you look at the Breakfast Club, like all
Everybody.
five, yeah. And so
Yeah.
I ended up, hanging out with him, and then that ended up making me friends with a lot more people. And the funny thing is now when I talk to people that I went to in high school, uh, apparently I was a lot more popular than I remember being, because
Sure.
I remember being like lonely and not having any friends and everything like that. And then
Yeah.
when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, what are you talking about, dude?" And I'm like, "I don't know. That's just how I remember it."
School was
Um,
a nightmare.
well, yeah, like I think everybody's school experience is a lot worse than
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
their memory than it actually probably was. But like we had some great times.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. That
I,
period
I,
in
I
the
don't remember. I don't remember a lot of them, but I'm sure that we
well,
did.
yeah, because of the stuff we were doing. Although what I do remember is especially early on, because when we first started hanging out, you weren't even drinking, and or very
Yeah.
little. So what would happen
You know
was,
what? I wasn't drinking at all. Like,
yeah.
go ahead and tell the story, but
Well, I was going to say, I used to, like, what the deal was is that you would show up at my place and then we would drive to the bar together. I would drive, but then you drive back, because by the time we were coming back, I was in no position to drive.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would go to the bar. I'd maybe have like one or two drinks, and then I was like fine to drive. I was like
Yeah.
sober by like 2 a.m. Okay. Yeah.
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 Or but there were sometimes when you were completely dry. Like when I remember hanging out
Totally.
with you, yeah, at some downtown bar. It was before we probably knew each other really well, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what I remembered about you. I can't remember, we were there to see a band or something.
Yeah.
Probably one of our friends' bands, and yeah, and you were like the sober one, and I think at that point I was trying to quit, so we were like the only two that weren't drinking. So that may have been
Yeah.
another reason why you in
That
your mind
that must
thought,
have been a wild time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, where it was like it's kind of
But
boring when everybody you're with is
but
drinking and you're not.
yeah, and I'm a bit of a weirdo with things like that. Like, I had a feeling this would come up today in our conversation where, the not drinking thing. Like, I didn't drink from age 17 to 25. Because
Yeah,
I was athletic. I was just into health. I just wanted clarity of mind, and I just didn't drink. And people are like, "Well, are you an alcoholic?" I'm like, "Well, no." They're like, why don't you loosen up?" I'm like, "I don't want to loosen up. I want to be the way that I am."
yeah, yeah.
And that actually went, talking about the timeline, that went until about 1996, where we started hanging out more.
So I was a bad
you know,
influence on you.
well, I don't know what happened. I just want to go out for pizza. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, and then I
so
got you into drinking. I mean, some of the parties we went to, and like, and the upstairs at Doug's place at
yeah,
Crystal Chandelier. We'll use assumed names and nicknames, and
yeah. Well, I remember one night. I think we went to the Oak, and someone was driving your car. Okay, I don't know who was
probably
driving.
me.
I don't want to say, but you had like a little station wagon type
Yeah,
thing, like a small car, and we're driving like -30 in Winnipeg on a January night, and we had 10 people in your car,
yeah, yeah.
and
I had
and
the
like
what we
that,
called the
that was like
wayback.
normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was called the way back. It was like seats that face the back window, and you would put three
Okay.
people in that back seat, even though
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
not barely big enough for one.
Yeah.
And it was, the windows were fogged up, and it's like, nah, I can drive, it's fine.
Well, sure. And yeah, so like, we'd bar hop, right? So it'd be like,
Yeah,
somehow we'd end up at the Oak, and then we'd end up at the Limelight, and on
Diamond
and on,
Club,
right? So uh no.
Euphoria, Euphoria.
No.
Wasn't that the
Well,
one? Was
I'm not
Euphoria
talking
the
about,
one on route on off of Lajmodia there in the Windsor Park
yeah,
Inn? Yeah,
I remember it's Club Soda.
yeah, Club
Um,
Soda. Yeah, Club Soda.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't hang out with you back then, I don't
Okay,
think.
but the Oak for sure. Like we were at the Oak a
The
lot.
Oak for sure, yeah, and
Limelight.
maybe
Yeah,
downtown.
maybe downtown.
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
or twice. Well, see, and see, some of this gets mixed up in my head because I went a lot of places with Doug too.
yeah.
Especially when we first started bar hopping. Doug and I we'd just go by ourselves, and we'd just sit in the corner and drink and wonder why we weren't picking up. Well, number one, I mean, I'm married, so I wasn't really there to pick up women, but he was separated, so he kind of was. But the two of
Yeah,
us just sitting in the corner drinking, and him wondering why he's not picking up any women. It's like,
yeah.
and then we're like slobs, but we're pretending we're grunge. Uh, yeah, it
Well,
was
now now one of my favorite memories. Tell me if you remember this. So going to the Limelight, we go to the Limelight. We had like a thing going for a while. Well, I think we were there like every Saturday for about like 9 months or maybe a year. So
most
this is like
most Wednesdays too.
yeah, yeah. So most
Yeah,
Wednesdays as well.
yeah,
So then I'm going to these bars with you and a couple other people going, how come I'm not meeting any women here? Like what the hell's going on? Like I typically, I did okay in the past, and I don't know, just things change. Until one day, you come up to me and you're like, people think that we're a couple here. Like
yeah,
people think that I'm your boyfriend.
yeah. Or that we were with Tammy and Krista, because we were always hanging around with
Right.
them, so there's that too.
Yeah.
But I do remember, like, we had fans, like we had people that
We had,
would want us to
we had a,
sing,
we had
and
a lot of fun.
yeah,
Well, because
they would,
we sing together. Like we would do
yeah,
like
yeah, rock and roll
taking
all
care of
night.
business. rock and
Yeah.
roll night. I think the bad one was when we were doing "You Give Love a Bad Name" together. I think that was the one where people went, "Whoa,
Yeah,
what
maybe
is going
there,
on?"
yeah, yeah. But, and then well, and the thing is too, is because I wasn't really, because I was married, and I'm not there to, like, pick up women and, whatever.
Yeah,
And so I didn't even really think about stuff like that.
yeah,
When I was going with Doug, like, and but eventually his game got a little better.
yeah,
But at first it was, I mean, we met some other friends, like we started hanging out with like Curtis and, God rest his soul,
yeah.
and friends of his, and their, his girlfriend and their friends, and so eventually we got out of our shell, but it took a while, but it was fun. Like, it was good times. Like, uh
You know what? It was a great time to be living in Winnipeg,
yeah,
to me, I was always like the perfect age for almost anything I had going on in my life.
yeah,
Like, like I started going to the bars in 1988. 89 I turned 18, so I was legally able to go to the bars. And then that stride, we took in like 1996 and 97, going to the Limelight. I mean, so many good memories and so many good people. And as much as we were messed up with drinking, I guess, here and there, we were harmless to people like that. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
always been my thing. I've always been like, you do you. That's how I live, and
yeah.
and even going way back to that, that's the way I carried myself. So
It's so
um
funny because when you say that, and you say like 96, 97, we were like 25, 26, and
yeah.
I felt like a grandpa then. Like, I just felt so much older than the people we were hanging out with. Like, I
Yeah,
remember Crystal Chandelier, she was
yeah,
18. She turned 18 while we were hanging
yeah,
out with her. And
yeah,
when I looked at her, I thought she was the same age as us. And I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and now if I look at her, like, I'm not saying she looks old or anything, but I'm just saying, like, now, especially, like, like, she's probably 43, right? But I mean, 43 and
yeah,
50 are pretty much the same, but
yeah,
18 and
yeah,
25 are not the
yeah.
same. Like, not
Well,
even close.
and you can reverse that. Like, I remember being
Yeah.
18 or 19, and if a 23-year-old woman liked me, I was horrified. I'm like,
Yeah.
what does this old lady want with me? Like,
Yeah.
what is this old lady gonna
23.
do with me? Like, can you?
Yeah.
And I'm not making that up. Like,
No,
I
no, I
had
believe
like,
you.
I was
Well,
like,
and
dude, she's like 21. She has her own apartment. I can't date that.
well,
She owns a nice car.
and all these, like, people that we were meeting and hanging out with and everything, most of them were like, 18 to maybe 21, and then we're like the old men that are like,
I,
like hanging around.
I didn't. That's on you. I didn't feel like that. I was
Well, I'm
like,
not saying you felt like that. I'm saying that's what it
well,
was. Like,
okay, fair
regardless
enough.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, they didn't treat us like that. But I'm
No,
sure
no, no.
now, if you went and you, but see, even me, like, go back to that, the way time plays tricks on you. Like, if I went back now, I still feel like that 27-year-old. Now I am the creepy old man if was ever going to go back. Although I
Yeah,
never would. In my
yeah.
mind, I picture, like, if I walked into the Oak, whatever it's called now, like, I expect them to be playing like Cotton Eye Joe and, like, rhythm is a dancer, like, whatever. And I'm sure
Well,
that's not at all what's
you know,
happening.
my work we had a Christmas party about a few weeks ago, and we went to like a club restaurant. I don't even know what these things are called anymore. I'm so out of the loop, right? And a lot of the people I work with are younger than me. Like, I'm the old person at my work now.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm 50, and so I'm at a party with like 30, and I think the average age is like 30, but I
Yeah.
still feel like I felt way older than these people. I'm like, I don't belong here. And I had my girlfriend with me, so that was fine. And like 10 o'clock, I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like,
10.
know what? I'm like,
Yeah. Well,
I'm
see,
like,
I'm
I've got,
lucky.
I've got a show I want to watch. I want to watch something tonight.
Yeah. We got to go home and watch my stories.
Yeah,
Yeah. We at my work, I'm like, I would say average. Like, there's a few people that are older than me, a few people younger, but there are some that are, like 35. And like my
yeah,
best friend at work, I mean, she turned 30 just a couple of years ago. And I'm
yeah,
like, you're like only like a year older than my son, right? And
yeah.
but the funny
Well,
thing is when I talk to her, like, I think of her more as a contemporary than my son. Like, when I talk to my son, I'm talking to a little kid, but
yeah.
but he's 30. But yet this other woman who's like a year older, I'm like, okay, she's like, my age, but not even
Yeah.
close.
Well,
But
how much older are you than Paul?
junior,
Yeah, junior. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years. Like he's 30.
Well, and that's like me with Shelby. Like that's the same thing.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so when you have a daughter who's like only 20 years younger than you, like that ruins it for like everything. Like
Yes.
I stopped
Yeah.
at younger girls like
Oh
a
yeah.
thousand.
Yeah.
It's not even on the radar anymore.
Well, and,
Thank
and maybe that's why it's so easy for
only
me to
20
be
years younger.
friends. Maybe that's why it's so easy for me to be friends with someone that age, because I'm not even, my mind isn't even going there. Like, I mean, I've been married
Yeah,
forever anyways, so it wouldn't be regardless. But people would look at us and wonder, like, and it's like, no, we're just good friends. Like, she's got a boyfriend, I've got a wife. My son is the same age as her. Like, so there's nothing going on. But,
right.
it's very weird to see a grown man and a grown woman, talking to each other and not think there's something going on.
You don't want to be like Bill Murray in Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
You ever see
Yeah.
that movie? Great movie.
I've heard of it. I don't know if I saw it. If I saw it, it
You
would have
need
been
to
with
watch.
you. Like,
You need
yeah.
to
Yeah.
watch it.
That's another thing. Well, I mean, we're almost out of time here, but we'll have to get
Yeah.
back together and talk about movies. In fact, I do a series on this with a guy named Chris. I don't know if you saw it, but we talk about teen comedies. So maybe I'll have you on when we do one of those, because I think you like those movies too, right? We talked about Last American Virgin on the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You saw that, right?
Oh, yeah.
We,
Movie.
we
Now
were
I know
supposed
you love that movie,
we were supposed to watch it with Tammy because she's
right? So
never
what
seen
happened?
it. We never did. Like,
So what
well, this
happened?
was when
No,
you were still here.
I
We were
was still
supposed to,
there.
yeah, we were supposed to, like, I have the DVD. We were going to get together and watch it, and we just never did because she's never watched it.
So have you seen? Are you like a movie guy still? Like you don't go to the movies, do you?
We go to like one or two a year because I only go with Anne, and it's got to be like a big budget action, movie, more or less. We will see the odd, like sometimes we'll make plans to go, and then we find out the movie we want to see isn't playing anymore. So then we'll just
Right.
go and see, okay, which of these movies sucks the least? Okay, that
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's like once or twice a year. But what
We go to the movies every week, so we're like
That's awesome.
yeah, it's great. Now there's a lot of stinkers. There's a lot of
Mhm.
bad movies that, but you should see Liquid Pizza when you get the chance.
Which oh, the Neil Thomas Anderson one, or
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Liquid Pizza. Yeah, what's funny
No,
is
no, not liquid, licorice.
Licorice Pizza. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was watching another movie. I don't remember what it was, but I saw like the commercial for Licorice Pizza, and I almost thought it was like not a real commercial. I thought it was like a parody that was actually part of the movie because it just
right.
looked so ridiculous. But I mean, that's
Yeah,
his movies, right?
that's
Like,
his movies.
yeah.
I will tell you though, there's some it's like a tribute almost to Last American Virgin. So this is why you should
Oh,
see it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a
So
movie called,
for you, highly
yeah.
recommended, and I enjoyed
Okay.
it. I enjoyed it a
Well,
lot.
there was the movie that Last American Virgin is based on is actually a movie called Lemon Popsicle. So I'm wondering
Oh,
if Licorice Pizza, if it's actually based on Lemon Popsicle and not Last American Virgin, but because
yeah, I don't know.
you look at the two titles, like lemon popsicle, licorice pizza,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
One thing I could tell you is Licorice Pizza was actually a record store in LA in the early 1970s,
oh, okay, okay,
which is where the movie is set, and the
okay.
timeline as well, like
Oh,
1970.
yeah. Do you know if it's streaming yet?
I don't think so,
Okay, well, I definitely
but
will
it will
see
be.
it.
It should be soon. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I
Check it out.
definitely will see it. I definitely will see it. Just finished watching Cobra Kai. That was awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Did you watch the latest season?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just literally
Yeah.
finished watching it last night. The
Yeah.
line I popped for was when Johnny Lawrence said, Peter Cetera is the exact opposite of badass. Meanwhile, like, he looks exactly like Peter Cetera. Yeah.
Actually,
But yeah. But
yeah.
anyways, we'll wrap this up, and we'll catch
My
up
friend.
again in a couple months, and we'll do this, and hopefully people liked it. Leave a comment if you liked it, like and subscribe.
Yeah,
I'll run.
and I'm really good to talk to you. Sorry, I had nothing to promote. I don't know if your guests have to do that.
No.
Uh,
In fact, like this,
there's no thought movie or book or anything. So
well,
just
you
me.
did Licorice Pizza. I've actually, like, basically figured out that the reason I do this show is just so I can talk to people. like it's not really about, like, whatever. So being able to talk to you after like however long it's been, like literally, if we weren't recording, I still would have wanted to do this. So
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
for sure.
may have been a different
Keeping that
conversation,
keeping
but
that in mind, you guys should come visit.
oh
Definitely
yeah, we
visit
will.
day. And I should head back to Winnipeg probably in the springtime or summer.
Okay, cool. Well, we have 3 empty rooms if you do. So you're more than
Sounds good, man.
welcome to crash for the night or however long you need to.
Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good.
Okay, cool. So we'll wrap it up like we always do. So thanks to John for coming on. I'm Grandpa Des, and this has been Grampa Joe with Grandpa Des.